The catch-all phrase, the war on terrorism, in all honesty, has no more meaning than if one wants to wage a war against criminal gangsterism. Terrorism is a tactic. You can't have a war against a tactic. It's deliberately vague and non-definable in order to justify and permit perpetual war anywhere and under any circumstances.
Days after the Bali bombing, a review of federal anti-terror laws was announced. Over the next 24 months, the Bali bombing was used in Australia to pass over 30 pieces of anti-terror legislation.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Attorney General and I have called this news conference to announce that after question time today, the Attorney General will introduce into the House an urgent amendment to the existing counter-terrorism legislation. We will seek passage of that amendment through all stages this evening. The President of the Senate will recall the Senate to meet tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m, and it's the Government's wish that this amendment be passed into law as soon as possible. The amendment, the detail of which I'll circulate in a moment with my statement, the amendment is currently part of the counter-terrorism legislation which has been in negotiation with the states. It has thus far been a quite uncontroversial amendment, and it's an amendment that effectively substitutes the definite article describing a terrorist act with the indefinite article. In other words, a "the" replaced by an "a". Let me say that the reason for this amendment is that the government has received specific intelligence and police information this week which gives cause for serious concern about a potential terrorist threat. All the detail of this information has been provided by me and the Attorney General to the Leader of the Opposition and to the Shadow Minister for Homeland Security. The government is satisfied on the advice provided to it that the immediate passage of this amendment would strengthen the capacity of the law enforcement agencies to effectively respond to this threat. You will understand that there are sensitive operational matters, and I cannot and will not go into any further detail.
John Howard's anti-terror legislation was rushed through Parliament. 17 men were arrested in raids in Sydney and Melbourne. Fahim Khalid Lodi was the only man prosecuted in court. It is important to realise that there were laws against every conceivable terrorist offence prior to the Bali bombings, including supporting, financing and planning acts of terrorism. Replacing "the" with an "a" is straightforward in spoken word, but it completely contradicts due process and the rule of law in Australia. The terrorist act becomes a terrorist act, and subsequently prosecutions can be made without identifying any specific act of crime. Today, an unknown connection to a potential crime is now punishable by life imprisonment. If you collect funds on behalf of another person, whether directly or indirectly, and are reckless as to whether the person will use the funds to facilitate or engage in a terrorist act, you can be sentenced to life imprisonment, even if a terrorist act does not occur. Individuals can now be punished not for crimes committed, but for links to a crime that might not even occur in the future. The 34-year-old Fahim Lodi was convicted under the radical preemptive legislation rushed through Parliament after his arrest. Lodi was held in a New South Wales maximum security prison for 3 months. While the government passed legislation and sought evidence to support their claims, Lottie remained in solitary confinement. The federal police was forced to drop charges against Lottie of attempting to recruit for a terrorist organisation. He was tried for planning an attack on Australian infrastructure. The Howard government ordered a confidential affidavit on the grounds of national security, ensuring a closed hearing. Access to evidence of the potential act of terror was denied to the public, the media, and even the accused man and his lawyer. Lottie was convicted of trying to destroy Australia's power grid on 3 terrorism charges. Lottie was sentenced to 15 years prison for possessing the Australian electricity grid map, life imprisonment for seeking information on chemical prices, 15 years prison for possessing a document with information on the manufacture of poisons and incendiaries. This was 15 pages of notes about poisons and explosives copied from an internet site years earlier. Lottie said he had come across the site while studying architecture at Sydney University. Lottie did not possess any of the ingredients or equipment referred to in the pages.
The conviction of Fahim Khalid Lodi on 3 terrorism charges has again thrown the controversial anti-terror laws into the spotlight. Yesterday, a jury in the New South Wales Supreme Court found Mr Lodi guilty of plotting a terrorist attack on Australian soil to further the cause of violent jihad.
The combination of